So the other day on Twitter, it was brought to my attention of something that I had said a few weeks ago regarding Yami and some of the other characters in the Black Bulls. And I meant to make a video on this topic like in that exact moment, and I just never really got around to putting it out or finishing it entirely. So I wanted to really go over my thoughts on this kind of now. So basically, what I had said right here is that Yami isn't even a top three Black Bulls for me. So before you like massively dislike and leave and go on your rant in the comment section, listen to really what I have to say here.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal. Don't pull out the nine.
Now by top three, I'm not talking about in regards to power. Obviously, when it comes to power, obviously Yami is head and shoulders, knees and toes above the rest of the Black Bulls. But when I say top three, I'm talking about character-wise. I'm talking about like he's not a top three character. Now this isn't to be confused with favorite. If he's not your top three favorite, or if he is your top three favorite, or mine, or whoever, that's purely subjective. He can be your favorite or top three favorite or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in actual terms of being a good character. I'm not saying he's a bad character. I'm not saying that at all. And of course, you can argue that what makes a good and bad character is also subjective. However, like the thing with like measuring a character is that there's actually things that you can look at, like and like as far as like what the actual rules of literature or fiction or just storytelling is. Like there are guidelines for what makes good characters, and a lot of people, a common consensus would say like a big key component of character is character development. And I know lots of people have varying, differences on what they believe character definition is. But generally speaking, I feel like lots of people have the wrong idea on what character development is. Lots of people use character development where they mean to use the word character growth, because development is just simply like how a character exists, or like what makes them that character, what defines their personality and like who they are, kind of like themselves, like what makes up that person. Whereas character growth is literally exactly what it sounds like. It's things that makes a character change or grow or be different, like things like how a character becomes a different person, or not necessarily a different person, but a better or in sometimes worse version of who they already were. That's like character growth. Whereas like developments, like I said, it's just who they already are. It's like what defines their personality, whether that be through events, interactions with other characters, even flashback lore, what all those things are what make up a character to make them one developed piece. Whereas growth is what I said earlier. Now, when we look at the Black Bulls, it's really chock full of a lot of really good characters. Like just in terms of going by those guidelines. If you would ask a lot of people who is in their top three best characters for the Black Bulls, I'm pretty sure a lots of people their main person to go to would be Noelle. Noelle, in terms of a character, is a very, very, very good character. If you look at like her, where she started from in terms of like not being able to control her magic, being more of like a way uptight royal who looked down on everybody, kind of as to growing who she is now, and not even just growth in terms of power, but growth in just how she feels and carries herself. She's much more confident, once being timid and afraid of her brothers, able to more or less, she beats solid, even able to somewhat stand on even footing in terms of talking to Noelle. She's really made a name for herself and came into her own. Like Noelle has really grown into a really good character while maintaining lots of the key components that was her character. She's still a tsundere, she's still, a little uptight a little bit, but these are all things that make her a good character because she's really true to herself, as well as her growth was really good. Like I would understand if someone said she is the top Black Bull for them. Another really popular example would be Zora. Now Zora, I'm not mad at. Lots of Zora's development, or basically all of his development and growth, was in the Crystal Exam. Kind of in the middle of the series, where Zora's introduced to us. We didn't really know who he was at first, but basically towards the end of the tournament, we kind of see what kind of guy he is. He's really shrewd, sharp talker. He's kind of, he means well. Like all the things he's saying to people are like true, but he's just putting them very bluntly. And then we get to see through his backstory why he is the way he is. His stuff with Zara, all the whole Zara flashback, in my opinion, was actually really, really good. Just to see like how Zora was kind of meek when he was younger. He didn't really he wasn't anywhere near how he was, how we know him in the series. And just seeing how his dad had influenced him, and how his dad's death influenced him to find the path of what a true magic knight would actually be, kind of eliminating or taking care of people who aren't, while trying to, become that image himself. He's a really strong character, honestly. He really is. Obviously, Asta, he's the main character. Obviously, he gets tons of development because we're with him in the story the most. Like, we get to really see how Asta is as a person. Granted, you can make the argument that Asta has not grown a lot, but I'm one of those people where I don't necessarily think that you need character growth to be a great character. I don't think it's 100% necessarily, but it does supplement it, which is kind of important. I will definitely come back to that point later. Now, a lot of people that I talked to after posting that tweet that I told you guys earlier, saying that Yami isn't even top 3 Black Bulls for me, is not entirely false when you look at the components of a great character. Granted, Yami is, he's one of those characters that doesn't really grow in terms of character growth. Like, Yami, in terms of a character, is the exact same as he was in the beginning versus how he is now. I mean, and like I said earlier, that's not a bad thing. Characters do not necessarily have to have some type of massive change. It does help, but it isn't necessary. If you look at Yami in terms of a character of just who he is, I think he's a really, really, really strong character in terms of being who he is, like being founded in what he is as a character. You can make a very strong argument that not a lot of characters in Black Clover are as solid as Yami, which I can 100% agree with. I feel like one of the best things about Yami, despite not having tons of character growth, is his character impact, or his ability to affect other characters in the story, which I feel like is a really important thing too. If you're not going to have tons of character growth, it's just how you inspire other characters to grow, and that is definitely a category that Yami has really solidly. Yami has been somewhat influential in a lot of the changes in a lot of the Black Bull members, in my opinion. You could definitely make the strong argument that Asta has inspired more and greater changes in the Black Bull characters, but there is no denying the part that Yami has played in a lot of it, which is good on him. I think that adds to him as a character. My only thing why I can't say Yami is the best character in the Black Bulls, or even top 3 characters in the Black Bulls, is there are a lot of characters that are also like Yami, that are really solid in their personality, in who they are. They feel somewhat believable as people, that also have really strong growth, that also have grown a lot. And it's like I said, the character growth definitely does supplement a good character. So it would only be natural that it would put the characters like Noel over Yami, or even the characters like Asta over Yami. Despite Asta not having a lot of growth, he does still have some, so that does put him over. Now, if you're asking me who I do think the best character in the Black Bulls is, or top character in the Black Bulls, however you want to word it, based off of character standards, to me it'll be Finral. Finral is a amazing character that I feel like gets overlooked a lot. Now, I know a lot of people probably scoff immediately, but when you really think about it, though, think where Finral started. Finral was a coward. He was a coward. He was a coward that didn't want any parts of any responsibility. He didn't want to do any work. He didn't want to be in any fights. He, in his mind, had already prepared himself to be quote unquote Yami's taxi. That was literally all he saw himself as. We even got to see in his flashback, kind of where this all started from, with him feeling vastly inferior to his brother Langris, the younger brother who was extremely talented and better at anything, while he was the older brother who didn't even really get who didn't really even have the desired spatial magic that his family was known for. Even Finral's actual mother passed. Langris, him and Langris don't even have the exact same mom, so his father's new wife, Langris's mom, actually favors Langris over him. So Finral, from the jump, it's already set up to where he has lots of deep-rooted problems with himself, and it's really dope to see that through a lot of the events of the story, how Finral has grown into what he is now, from his actual very first showing in a somewhat combat scenario. If you think about the first time we really see him in battle, a lot of people like to think of the Underwater Sea Temple, but really the very first time we got to see Finral in an actual dangerous scenario was in the cave arc, when the elves first appeared, and Finral was terrified. He was absolutely terrified of anything going on in that fight. He showed up to the battlefield and was just immediately afraid of Partry. So it's one of those things where when you look at him again in the Underwater Sea Temple, we had already seen a glimpse of what he was like. We're okay, this is this coward character who's probably not going to do much. And then to see him show up during the Veto fight along with Vanessa to kind of help Asta a lot, like immensely, to do what he was able to do against Veto. It kind of speaks for itself right there. And even directly after that, that battle he had with Veto alongside Asta and Vanessa affected him extremely positively. Like, it was even like a couple days later when he ran into his brother, he was like, look, I'm not going to let you downplay or talk bad to the Black Bulls. That's huge. He had never stood up to Langris ever. He had never stood up to his brother, and that was the first time. And then even take it farther from that, when he wanted to participate in the crystal exam, that was like the prima growth for Finral. He had trained so much, his hair had changed colors. Like, Finral did so much that was out of character for a noble, so much that was out of character for himself, all in the hopes of growing to become a better person, becoming a better Black Bull member. There's just a lot going for Finral in terms of being a really amazing character. I feel like a lot of people definitely overlook, just because he isn't necessarily a flashy character. Like, he doesn't have any of the flashiness that some of the other characters have, so I feel like he might get downplayed, or he's a bit of a womanizer still, so he gets seen kind of more of like a joke, when Finral's really, really good character. Another good thing to bring up is that, like, Finral had literally given up on having like a basic reason to even exist. Like, Finral was just living in the moment, like after essentially running from all of his responsibility, being like his family, the whole arranged marriage with like Vanessa, going to Langris, him losing the heir status to his house. He really didn't have a reason to live. He was kind of just living in the moment. He even says this. And then to get from there to developing a goal of wanting to make the Black Bulls the best squad. I feel like a character like going from literally not having a goal at all to having a solid thing that they want, I feel like that's really huge. Like, I feel like you can't overlook that. Whereas you look at, other characters in the Black Bulls don't even have goals. Like, I feel like that's one of the things that you would have to take into consideration, that you have to look at, that Finral, in terms of a character, would stand above lots of other characters. So overall, I'm not saying that Yami is a bad character. I think Yami is a really good character. I honestly do. He's impacted a lot of characters in the story, which I think is really important. I think, right under, character development and growth, I really feel like character impact is a huge component. I really do. It's just that I feel like there are other characters that have the same components as he does, as well as having character growth that will put them, a little bit higher than him, in my opinion. So down below, let me know your opinion on the entire matter. Is Yami your top character for the Black Bulls in terms of what makes a character, or do you have somebody else? Like, say, is Luck your favorite character? I think Luck's a really strong option too. Or is Vanessa your favorite character? Vanessa, honestly, character wise, I think she should be in a lot of people's top threes when you really, really look at it. But I am very curious to know what you guys think down below, or if you guys are like, nope, it's definitely Yami. Yami's the best character in the Black Bulls, hands down. I do want to know you guys' opinions on that as well. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video if you stayed to the end and you enjoyed it. I really do appreciate that kind of stuff, as well as for more Black Clover content. Outside of that, I look forward to reading some of the replies, and I will see you guys in my next video.